Hi guys, it's Mishel, Deception Bytes, and it is August 17th and it's 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I am coming to you a little bit earlier today, but of course that's not any consolation because I'm late with the post overall. Now, I could tell you that it's because this has been a no good, horrible, nasty, just horrendously awful week, but you know what? Who wants to hear someone whine? And I've just determined today that today is going to be a better day, and gosh darn it, it is. And already it's getting better because I'm with you guys. And I do enjoy doing this. I really do. I enjoy the interaction that we have via the comments and so forth. So let's get started. Now, I hope that you guys are having a better day. Well, actually, this day's pretty good, but I hope you're having just a wonderful day and that you're being visited by the bluebird of happiness instead of maybe perhaps the chicken of depression. So let's get started. Going to go through the 15th. That's going to be one video. We've got probably two videos to cover the 16th. Now that I expect to have done today. That is my goal. That's what I'm aiming for. I've got all the research done on it. I just need to record it. And so far, but that was as of a couple hours ago, I didn't see any current Q posts, but that does not mean that they're not there now. And if they are, I will pick that up when I'm finished and caught us up to date. So let's just dive in here. We're jumping in at the deep end here in terms of topics anyway with Haiti. So we're going to go out to YouTube and we're going to listen to what Q is pointing out to us here. Now note, the person that's in this video with the reddish hair is Laura Silsby. Laura Silsby, of course, is, well, we'll get to that. I'm sure that twigs your memory as it is, but we'll get to who she is. Now, this, of course, says U.S. missionaries in Haiti charged with kidnapping. Were they really missionaries? Let's listen here.
But a Haitian prosecutor decided the accusations against them were serious enough to build a criminal case. He charged them with child kidnapping and criminal association for trying to take 33 children out of the country without the required documentation.
The decision came somewhat as a surprise. Haitian officials had floated the idea of sending the missionaries back to the U.S. for fear of overburdening Haiti's crippled judicial system. Now, however, the case is in the hands of an investigative judge based in this building right here behind me.
The missionaries are from an Idaho-based Baptist church. Police arrested them last week on Haiti's border with the Dominican Republic as they tried to cross with a busload of children. The missionaries say they were bringing orphaned and abandoned victims of the earthquake to a better life in the Dominican Republic.
The entire team deeply fell in love with these children. They're very, very precious kids that have lost their homes and their families and are so deeply in need of, most of all, God's love and His compassion.
Just I wanted to point out here, first of all, that this is Laura Silsby, like I just said. But also, notice when you interview someone, it's very odd for them to be looking down the whole time. She's not really looking at the interviewer. She's not looking at the camera. Why is that? And at first, when I watched this, before it clicked in who it was, I thought, I saw her and she seems like very, she plays the part very well, but there's just something about her. Now, whether the others really knew what was going on or not, the other from the Baptist church, whether they knew what was going on, I don't know. I don't think any of them were charged, but she certainly does know what's going on. So let's just go back a bit here.
They're very, very precious kids that have lost their homes and their families and are so deeply in need of, most of all, God's love and His compassion and just a very nurturing setting.
Thousands of children were orphaned in the earthquake, raising concerns about the possibility of child trafficking. The Haitian government says this is what the missionaries were doing. UNICEF's executive director doesn't call it child trafficking, but she says whatever the missionaries intended to do, they went about it the wrong way.
If children are going to be taken out of the country, they need to have proper documentation and have been through the process properly for adoption and for removal from the country.
Haitian officials say many of the children still have parents, but some of the children may have been handed over voluntarily. Craig Morrow, Al Jazeera, Port-au-Prince, Haiti.
And I know that that actually does happen. We're not talking about it here in this case, but it does happen. I know I've done missionary work a few times in Honduras, in the Mosquito Coast area, Honduras, and they do. Some of the very, very poor, some of the interior people that live there, the Mesquite Indians, they would ask foreigners to take their children because they knew that they would have a better chance, which of course I pray that the same was not happening there. And I don't believe that, and I don't think Q is saying that every single person that went to Haiti to help out was a child trafficker. So we can't jump to that conclusion either. But we know in this case that Laura Silsby definitely was. She might have, been trying to cover as a missionary, and that's been a cover for a lot of nefarious things for a very long time. Not that every missionary is bad, not saying that by any stretch of the imagination. There are so many people doing so many good and necessary things abroad, but in some cases they're used as cover for these sorts of things. So let's go here to the next, and Q says read this very carefully. Sunday night, Matt Doran goes undercover with Operation Underground Railroad to bring down Haiti child sex ring. Go behind the scenes with an elaborate multi-agency bust that has been almost a year in the planning. Who is afraid of the water? The question from a former special agent with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security is directed at a group of children being held against their will in a rusted home hidden in the hills of Pétionville in the Republic of Haiti. The undercover human trafficking operative produces an iPhone and shows the children an image of a luxury yacht moored nearby in the Caribbean. There's a moment of awkward laughter before gradually a few tiny arms shoot up in the air. Oui, oui, they say in Creole, explaining that they're scared. With us are a dozen children who've been released by their captors from locked rooms in the back of the property. They are aged between 8 and 14 years old. They are sex slaves, child trafficking victims who've spent their formative years servicing the carnal desires of men, often foreigners who are 3, 4, 5, or 6 times their age. Their madame tells me that many of their customers are Western humanitarian workers who've come here to help rebuild Haiti after the recent run of natural disasters. Every day, she says, after being asked if the kids have experience with Westerners. One of the little girls tightens her ponytail and checks her lipstick in the reflection of the madame's sunglasses. Her t-shirt logo reads, Viva Lava Amanda, or Live Life to the Fullest. She sneaks a look over her shoulder at a member of the Haitian cartel who is doing a terrible job of concealing a machete. The children are told that we are planning an underage sex party for a group of wealthy Americans and Australians. The undercover agents I am with explain to the traffickers that the party will take place on their yacht, which has been sailed over from Miami and is now anchored off a beach resort on a spectacular stretch of Haiti's northeast coast. In reality, the meeting is part of an elaborate multi-agency bust that has been almost a year in the planning, all done with the approval and cooperation of federal Haitian police. A meticulous operation that began with the infiltration of the dark web and that will culminate in the takedown of high-level Haitian traffickers linked to the abuse of hundreds of school-aged children. Many of them are traded as though commodities to rival gangs and put up for sale or rent in filthy underground Haitian brothels. Some are loaded into trucks or buses and smuggled across the border to be used by tourists in the Dominican Republic. Foreigners with the appetite can buy an hour of their services for as little as a handful of Australian dollars. I'm embedded with an organization called Operation Underground Railroad, a group of ex-police and former CIA and Department of Homeland Security operatives who travel the world rescuing trafficked children. This is far from a vigilante group. Leading the team is ex-Department of Homeland Security agent Tim Ballard, perhaps America's foremost human trafficking expert. The problem in Haiti is an international crisis, Ballard explains. With so many children displaced or orphaned during the recent earthquake and hurricane, recruiters moved quickly to sweep these children up. And the worst part of it all is that in many cases the clients are the foreigners who've come here to help, the NGO workers and the so-called humanitarians. As our meeting with the traffickers ends, the undercovers set their trap. They give the criminals a time and place for the bust and agree to a price for the children's services on the yacht. Over the next week, we will meet with the leaders of another 5 trafficking networks, often late at night, in child brothels protected by heavily armed guards. These places are dark and shadowy, and the men who run them have virtually no respect for human life, Ballard tells me. There's one way in and one way out. If they catch you filming, that's when they pull the guns out. That's when they realize you are better off dead to them than alive. Despite more than a few tense moments, including several hours spent hiding out from suspicious gang members on the roof of a Western hotel, each of the meetings ends safely, and suddenly everything is in place. The traffickers have bought our story that we're throwing a child sex party on our yacht, and they've agreed to deliver 30 children. The victims think it will be just another day of abuse by men whose language they can't understand. In fact, they are now just 24 hours away from being rescued. 2 brave Australians are among the rescue team on the ground in Haiti. Pete is a father and a top paramedic. His colleague, Vivienne, is a mother of 2 and former detective and with more than 2 decades of experience. They are recruited by Operation Underground Railroad for their skills as covert investigators. They can't be identified for fear of reprisal attacks from traffickers with international tentacles. My role in the Haiti operation is to care for the children once the traffickers deliver them to the beach resort where the sting will go down, says Vivienne. Keep them calm, keep them safe while the traffickers are given their cash before the police move in. What goes through my head is the whole mother instinct, wanting to nurture them, give them a hug and say it's going to be okay. What's gut-wrenching is I actually don't know if it's going to be okay. Pete is on standby for any medical emergencies to treat any injuries should the traffickers bring weapons or become violent when the SWAT team moves in for the arrests. You start to think, okay, what if this was my child? How would I be? What would I feel? And it pulls you apart, Pete says. There's a temptation for us at times in our bubble in Australia to dismiss this as someone else's problem. We're different cultures, different races, different countries, but we're all human beings. As word comes through that the traffickers and the children are now en route, we put the final touches on a series of hidden cameras and microphones which will capture the evidence needed for the Haitian authorities. One second. The plan is for the traffickers to meet with us out on the yacht while the children are taken inside a hut on the beach. It's vital for the legal case that the traffickers are recorded telling the agents how many children they control and how much they will charge. Once the traffickers arrive, the plan plays out to perfection. They've delivered exactly what they said they would. 30 children between the ages of 8 and 16. They explain that their daily value is a little over $300 per child, and then they return to the beach to collect their cash. A signal is given and Haitian police move in, guns drawn. Baklava-clad detectives armed with assault rifles order the traffickers to the ground and seize the envelopes of cash they've been handed as payment for the day's services. A signal is given. All told, 9 traffickers end up in handcuffs and 30 children are placed into the care of experienced trauma counselors. The rescue team is now working directly with the Haitian president on the prosecution of the traffickers arrested. For most of the children, this is the first taste of freedom in many years. They've spent much of their young lives crowded into locked rooms with no windows, sleeping on concrete floors. The sad reality is that many have given up this life of abuse by their own impoverished families. Children sourced in calamity, the pieces of their lives never quite coming together. The safe houses where the children will be cared for seem at first glance like the saddest place on earth, with executions often ordered for girls set to testify. They are protected 24/7 by heavily armed guards. As the first television crew ever allowed inside these top secret compounds, we discover girls as young as 11 pregnant or already raising children themselves, the heartbreaking product of rape. But if you look beyond their scared hearts, their scarred hearts, and the dim lights in their eyes, you'll find a place full of hope. Beautiful young Haitians with secret smiles and untold potential. Trauma counselors bringing kids who've lived through an infinitude of suffering back to life. They have medical treatment and the opportunity to go to school. Maria Atkinson runs Jasper House, a refuge for survivors what is wrong with me? A refuge for survivors in coastal Jacmel. She's a volunteer who abandoned her life of privilege in America to dedicate her life to these children. These are the world's forgotten children. The ones that have fallen through the cracks, Maria tells me, as we watch the children dance and sing during an afternoon art class. They've been beaten down and abused and made to feel worthless, but nothing in the world is more rewarding than when you see the light come back into their faces. The resilience totally blows me away. They have been through more than we could imagine, and yet they find a way back. For the Aussies involved in the rescue, the biggest child trafficking bust in Haiti's history, there's little time to pause and celebrate. It's like pushing on the chest of Haiti, Pete tells me as we watch the traffickers being led away to prison. It's like saying, hey, you have an enormous problem here, but we are with you and we're ready to help. And with more than 5 million children enslaved worldwide, which I think is a very conservative estimate if you ask me, Operation Underground Railroad certainly needs the help. In fact, the human trafficking now rivals guns and drugs as one of the fastest growing crimes in the world. There's a temptation here in Australia, half a world away from Haiti, to think, this is not our country, these are not our children, this is someone else's problem. Pete and Viviane are pleading for a different perspective. It takes some engagement to say, no, I'm more than just Australian. I'm part of this. Borders and boundaries mean nothing when you look into the kids' eyes, Pete says. For Viviane, helping is a human thing to do. These are children, and if they don't have anyone, they are all of ours. To sit back and do nothing is not something we were wired to do. So that is a heartbreaking article, but it struck me when they said that was the biggest bust, and really there was only 30 children. Now, I don't mean that to sound like, oh, there's only 30 children, because if you rescue even one, it's worth it. But, in comparison to how many children are being trafficked worldwide, it's a small drop in the bucket, and that's very sad. And I'll tell you something, when I was in Honduras, it was in a little place called La Ceiba. Not sure if this is still happening, but La Ceiba, Honduras, there's a dump there, and a lot of people live in that dump. They take, orange crates, anything that they can make little wooden, it's great if you can get a little wooden shack. A lot of times it's just the corrugated cardboard that comes from like orange crates and stuff like that. And they make little houses out of it, dirt floors. It's absolutely astounding to see how these people live, and they scrounge through the dump for anything, scraps of food, anything they can use or sell. That's what they do. That's how they make their living. But what I noticed when I was there is that there were a lot of blonde little children running around. And I asked them why that was. And it's because the foreigners go there and they pay the women in the dump and the children in the dump to service them. And, the women not having any birth control get pregnant. And, some of these foreigners are fair-haired and blonde-haired, blue eyes. So you've got a mixture of children in this dump. A lot of them have foreign fathers. And it's quite, it was quite eye-opening to see how they lived. Now, the people that I was with had a feeding program at the dump, and 3 days a week, I believe, they would go in and they would feed them rice and beans and some milk, and the children would come and get fed properly. But that's only three meals out of how many that week that those children aren't getting. So anyway, I just thought I would tell you that little bit from just my personal experience. Now let's go out and look here. This is not one that Q has provided, but I found it for us just to look at so that we can have a little bit of context here. The Clinton-Silsby trafficking scandal and how the media attempted to cover it up. And of course, Laura Silsby was the one in that video. And we've heard about her before in the Q drops. I'm not going to read all of this, but just a bit to give us some context here. Contrary to reports in the media, the crowd-sourced investigation labeled by some as Pizzagate did not begin with internet sleuths digging through the WikiLeaks Podesta files looking for pizza parlors and encoded language discussing human trafficking. It began with the shocking discovery that Hillary and Bill Clinton provided assistance to convicted child trafficker Laura Silsby, resulting in a reduced sentence for child trafficking. Silsby was arrested at the Haitian border attempting to smuggle 33 children out of Haiti without documentation. Her sentence and charges were reduced after an intervention by Bill Clinton. In the aftermath of Silsby's arrest, her original retained lawyer, George Piolo, was arrested in connection with an international smuggling ring accused of trafficking women and minors from Central America and Haiti. The revelation of this news in November was either ignored by the Western media or attacked by Clinton-controlled publications. So we know that. We know this already, so I don't think that I'll go through all this. But if it's something that you want to read a little bit more and study a little bit more about, it's very easy to find out there. So I'm going to move on from there. Okay, and then Q is making reference to an earlier, to the same one that we just read. He's making reference to this drop, and below it he is putting, this is far from and this is straight out of the article, this is far from a vigilante group. Leading the team is ex-Department of Homeland Security agent Tim Ballard, perhaps America's foremost human trafficking expert. The problem in Haiti is an international crisis, Ballard explains. With so many children displaced or orphaned during the recent earthquake and hurricane, recruiters moved quickly to sweep these children up, and the worst part of it all is that in many cases the clients are the foreigners who've come here to help, the NGO workers and the so-called humanitarians. And then Q, rightfully so, says pure evil. Hunters become the hunted. The more you know. So now he's saying pure evil. What is pure evil? Well, the trafficking of children by these foreigners who've come there under the guise of wanting to help and are actually the hunters. They're hunting these children that are in a very, very vulnerable place. But Q is assuring us that these hunters, these foreigners, including U.S. foreigners that landed on Haiti under the guise of helping and trafficked children or harmed children in some ways, these hunters have become the hunted. That's good news. We want them hunted. And the more you know, Q says. So let's go on. And hang on here till I get to the top of this. Okay, we're going to go all the way up here to where this post starts. And we've got, it's strange, isn't it? Okay, Q is making reference to a former post, and I think this YouTube video is the one where he made reference to this YouTube video is going to get Trump. Let me make sure. I want to be sure before I say that.
Our movement.
That one. Now, I can't go ahead and play it all because the music in it is copyrighted, and then they give me a copyright strike, and I'm trying to stay on the right side of YouTube, but that's getting increasingly more difficult as they target conservatives more and more, and it's getting worse and worse. I thought that we had seen the worst of it. Well, we really certainly have not, which is most disconcerting for everyone. So then the second one is the one that shows off the military might. And he says, "We stand together." Q. All right. And then we come down to here. And it says, we've got this post by the BBC. And it says, "Read very carefully." Q. Now, U.S. election 2016. What really happened with the Clintons in Haiti? Well, wouldn't we all like to know? I'm not sure if we ever really, truly will know.
Hillary says she's going to be president. We say, President Hillary. President Hillary. President Hillary. A thief for president. A thief for president. A liar for president. A liar for president. A crook for president. A liar for president.
So that's interesting. He's saying, you know, a thief for president, a liar for president. Now, Donald Trump said that the work of Bill and Hillary Clinton in Haiti was a disgrace. What really happened? The Clinton family, they are crooks, they are thieves, they are liars, say Haitian activist Dahoud Andre. He has been leading protests outside the Clinton Foundation headquarters in Manhattan and Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign base in Brooklyn for the last 2 years. He said protesters from this small activist group, the Committee to Mobilize Against Dictatorship in Haiti, will continue to level their allegations, so far all unproven, if the Democratic candidate wins the White House. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump raised the matter in the third and final presidential debate when he told Ms. Clinton, I was at a little Haiti the other day in Florida, and I want to tell you they hate the Clintons because what happened in Haiti with the Clinton Foundation is a disgrace. Mrs. Clinton retorted that she was proud of the foundation's work and pointed out her rival's namesake charity that had spent money on life-size portrait of himself. The Clintons' history with the world's first black republic dates back to their 1975 honeymoon when they met a voodoo priest and visited a hotel where Ernest Hemingway once stayed. Few could have guessed the two young American tourists, the attractions that December would one day wield such influence over the impoverished Caribbean island nation. Mr. Andre is not alone among his compatriots in blaming the once and perhaps future first couple for many of the ills of Haiti. Kim Ives, editor of Haiti Liberty newspaper, told the BBC a lot of Haitians are not big fans of the Clintons, that's for sure. The fact that the Clintons took a lot of things over after the earthquake and did a pretty poor job of it translates to why the Haitians have a pretty dim view of them, he added. Mrs. Clinton was Secretary of State and Mr. Clinton was UN Special Envoy to Haiti when the January 2010 earthquake struck, killing an estimated 220,000 people. Some $13.3 billion was pledged by international donors for Haiti's recovery. Mr. Clinton was appointed co-chairman of the interim Haiti Recovery Commission, along with Haitian Prime Minister Jean-Max Bellerive. But IHRC found itself under fire as frustrations mounted at the slow pace of recovery. Its mandate was not renewed by the Haitian Parliament in 2011, and that should tell us everything we need to know. Where the Haiti funding went: $9.04 billion total. $3.3 billion from individuals and company, $6 billion from bilateral and multilateral donors. And 89.8% went to non-Haiti organizations, 9.6% went to the Haiti government, and 0.6 went to Haitian organizations. A U.S. Government Accountability Office report discovered no hint of wrongdoing. Yeah, right. Well, we know that this is completely bogus and or biased and probably bogus. But Mr. Clinton's own office at the UN found 9% of the foreign aid cash went to the Haitian government and 0.6 to local organizations. The bulk of it went to UN agencies, international aid groups, private contractors, and donor countries' own civilian and military agencies. For example, the Pentagon billed the State Department hundreds of millions of dollars for sending U.S. troops to hand out bottled water and keep order on the streets of Haiti's ravaged capital, Port-au-Prince. Jake Johnson, an analyst at the Center for Economic and Policy Research, a nonpartisan group that has studied the quake reconstruction, told the BBC, "It's hard to say if it's been anything other than a failure." I don't think it's hard to say. It has been anything. It has been a failure, a giant failure. But he believes the State Department and IHRC simply replicated the mistakes of the whole foreign aid industry by chasing short-term goals instead of building longer-term capacity on the ground. Now, of course, they're going to spin this. They're not going to come right out and say, the Clintons stole the money. They don't know where the money is. It certainly didn't go to help the Haitians. That's for darn sure. And everybody knows that. Heck, even the Haitians know that. Now, says read very carefully, Q. Q is telling us where all the money went. Of the $13.3 billion that was raised to help Haiti, just 36.2, 0.6 actually went into helping to build Haiti. 580 million, 9.6 went to the Haitian government, probably bribes, which means that over 16 times what went into building Haiti was given in bribes. Shocking. The rest went to non-Haitian organizations, which is code for Clinton Foundation profits for opposing or for organizing the scam. No wonder the Haitians want their heads on pikes. This is the Haitian Prime Minister begging the then candidate Donald J. Trump for help to get the donated monies back. Well, we'll be there presently, I suppose. There we go.
So I was president of the Senate in Haiti in 1994 when Bill Clinton invaded the island. And I have the records about the Clinton Foundation. And I want to have a few minutes today to talk about that. First of all, to understand where I come from, I am from both cultures. I am from the American culture because I came here at a very early age. And while you went to New York Military Academy, I went to New Jersey, a military academy in New Jersey. About the same time, we are about the same age. You could have been my underclassman. So really, it's you understand me and I will understand you. Okay? So, but my dream was to go back to Haiti, to do for Haiti what I had seen in the United States. Free enterprise system, the justice system you have here, and fight corruption in Haiti. And in 1991, I was elected Senator of Haiti. The same year, Jean-Bertrand Aristide was elected president. In February, I take the message back to President Clinton. I know you are here because he sent you. A week later, after my conversation with Bill Richardson, the American embassy called me, as it was often the case, and they said, President Clinton has a messenger for you. I said, send him over. He came, did not give me his name, but told me, Mr. Sensory, you join our movement. You side with Bill Clinton in this invasion and will make you the richest man in Haiti. I said, sir, tell President Clinton for me Bernard Sensory is not for sale. I have principle and I love my country. A week later, by executive order, Clinton revoked my visa. I was then a resident of the United States. I am now a citizen of the United States. And this is how it's been in Haiti. The Clinton, when after the invasion, they started a cellular company called Fusion International. To make a long story short, now it's Digicel who is taking over, and his friend Dennis O'Brien has given millions to the Clinton Foundation. In 2010, the earthquake of Haiti, not only American taxpayers, but the whole world has given billions of dollars to the Clinton Foundation for the Haitians. Not even 2% of that money went back to Haiti. So Mr. Trump, we are asking you, begging you, the Haitian community will side with you if one day you ask Hillary Clinton publicly to disclose the audit of all the money they have stolen from Haiti in 2010 after the earthquake. Haiti is a very poor country. Haiti needs defenders. You said you will champion our cause. We welcome you, sir, and we will work with you. But please, ask publicly Hillary Clinton, during your next debate, to publish the audit of all the money they have stolen from Haiti. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Incredible. That's a terrible experience you've had.
I had other experience, sir. Like George Sadi said, you know, I have proof because I have worked with American intelligence about the drugs coming from Haiti to the United States and how the money went back to Haiti, you know, in cornflakes boxes. It's unbelievable. And that money was used to pay lobbyists in Washington, D.C. during the Clinton administration, and the money found its way all the way to the White House. Sir, please, the Haitian people is counting on you.
Really amazing. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, it doesn't sound there. I mean, I think if I had been that gentleman right there, then I might have been a little bit, you know, unconvinced as to whether Donald Trump was taking that seriously or not. But he did actually mention Haiti in one of their debates. So he obviously did take this gentleman very, very seriously. And as you can tell, he's completely convincing, he's well-spoken, and he knows what he's talking about. So, yeah, that's interesting, if you ask me. More than interesting. I think, honestly, this is so huge. This whole thing is so huge. But I think that just Haiti alone, if the story was told of just Haiti alone and everything has gone on there, the world would be absolutely horrified. Absolutely horrified. And don't be one of those, I know a lot of times people will say, well, people won't care because, they're brown children and they're not white children. That's a bunch of bull crap. It really is. It's a bunch of bull crap. I think people would care very much. I care very much. I can guarantee that everyone listening here cares very much. There are only a very few ignorant people in this world that would ever think that way, and they have issues themselves that need to be rescued from. Anyway, let's move on. Now the next post from the 15th is this, and it says, now notice that we were just discussing trafficking. Okay, the last couple posts have been about trafficking. Now here, Q says, Saudi Arabia, access closed. Epstein Island, access closed. Haiti, access closed. North Korea, access closed. China, access closed. Russia, access closed. And I want to point out here to you, in case you skipped over it, and it's very easy to do, Q purposefully leaves out the I in Russia. Now, we know that when he does that, it's always for a purpose. And if it isn't, if it is a typo, Q always comes back and says that was a typo, which he doesn't do in this instance. So we have to assume that this is on purpose. He has left the I out on purpose here as a message. Russia, closed. Cuba, closed. Sudan, access pending. Government, Saudi Arabia, U.S. push. So there's a push to end that by Saudi Arabia and the U.S. Syria, access pending government. The access will be closed pending government action. Same with Sudan. Yemen, access pending government. Saudi Arabia, U.S. push. So these three are still pending. Libya, access pending. Main port closed, limited. So some of it's been closed, some of it isn't. But it's limited at this time. The access is limited. And that is access to trafficking. Somalia, access pending. Saudi Arabia, U.S. push. So there's still a push on to end some of this, but some of the access to some of these places have been closed. And it ends with Q. Now, the post is missing I in Russia, and then Trump tweets this. And it's also missing an I. So Trump posts this. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you so we can see. Okay. Now, Q says, we're not going to make America great again. It was never that great. Can you believe this is the governor of the highest tax state in the U.S., Andrew Cuomo, having a total meltdown? And of course, Andrew Cuomo did say that we're not going to make America great again. It was never that great. What a horrible thing for someone in government to say. Seriously. Like, if you feel that way, you have no right working on behalf of the American people. For real. You should just, make yourself a sandwich and call it a day. Really. Go home, put your feet up, and live on your savings, because you're not, at that point, you're just in the way of progress, right? Do you want somebody in government that feels that way about our country? I don't. I want people that love the country, that want to do the best for the country, for the people. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is this word right here. Instead of going, he says G-O-N-G. Go, N-G. Go, N-G. What's he saying? Trump's tweet has a missing I as well. 9 minutes later, we get a correction. But if you read between the lines, G-O-N-G reads go, N-G. Is he saying go National Guard? Those two missing I's are important. So whatever the message is there, it's an important message. And my guess is that if we don't understand it now, we will shortly, because that's always how Q has worked. He seems to be more concerned with us getting it than we are about getting it. And usually when we miss it, he comes back around to it in a different way and starts hinting in a different direction. But that is as reasonable as an explanation as I can come up with. Go National Guard. What do we need the National Guard for? I don't know, but we did just have that military spending bill. Don't know if that would be included in it. I would assume so, but again, I've never been part of the military and I don't actually understand. I'm trying to, and I'm learning as much as I possibly can, but I don't understand how the military all works together and what powers overlap and what don't. So that is something that I have to learn more about, and maybe you all can help me as well, because I know we do have some military and former military members that listen, and I appreciate your service. I want you to know that. You who are veterans as well, I appreciate your service, and that you have served for our country so selflessly, not selfishly, selflessly, and for anybody that is currently serving. We appreciate you. We all appreciate you. So we have this, and then let's go on now to this. And this, of course, is about Trump revoking ex-CIA Director John Brennan's security clearance. This is a huge deal. Now, I know you guys have already heard about this, because I don't know, you would have to be, maybe if your power's been out for 48 hours, or I don't know, if your power was out, you wouldn't be listening to this. So I don't know, but it's everywhere. Hang on, I'm going to close this. Now, let's listen to Sarah for a moment.
Head of the executive branch and commander-in-chief, I have a unique constitutional responsibility to protect the nation's classified information, including by controlling access to it. Today, in fulfilling that responsibility, I've decided to revoke the security clearance of John Brennan, former director of the Central Intelligence Agency. Historically, former heads of intelligence and law enforcement agencies have been allowed to retain access to classified information after their government service so that they can consult with their successors regarding matters about which they may have special insights and as a professional courtesy. Neither of these justifications supports Mr. Brennan's continued access to classified information. First, at this point in my administration, any benefits that senior officials might glean from consultations with Mr. Brennan are now outweighed by the risks posed by his erratic conduct and behavior. Second, that conduct and behavior has tested and far exceeded the limits of any professional courtesy that may have been due to him. Mr. Brennan has a history that calls into question his objectivity and credibility. In 2014, for example, he denied to Congress that CIA officials under his supervision had improperly accessed the computer files of congressional staffers. He told the Council of Foreign Relations that the CIA would never do such a thing. The CIA's Inspector General, however, contradicted Mr. Brennan directly, concluding unequivocally that agency officials had indeed improperly accessed congressional staffers' files. More recently, Mr. Brennan told Congress that the intelligence community did not make use of the so-called Steele dossier in an assessment regarding the 2016 election, an assertion contradicted by at least 2 other senior officials in the intelligence community and all of the facts. Additionally, Mr. Brennan has recently leveraged his status as a former high-ranking official with access to highly sensitive information to make a series of unfounded and outrageous allegations, wild outbursts on the internet and television about this administration. Mr. Brennan's lying and recent conduct, characterized by increasingly frenzied commentary, is wholly inconsistent with access to the nation's most closely held secrets and facilities, the very aim of our adversaries, which is to sow division and chaos. More broadly, the issue of Mr. Brennan's security clearance raises larger questions about the practice of former officials maintaining access to our nation's most sensitive secrets long after their time in government has ended. Such access is particularly inappropriate when former officials have transitioned into highly partisan positions and seek to use real or perceived access to sensitive information to validate their political attacks. Any access granted to our nation's secrets should be in furtherance of national, not personal interest. For this reason, I've also begun to review the more general question of the access to classified information by government officials. As part of this review, I am evaluating action with respect to the following individuals: James Clapper, James Comey, Michael Hayden, Sally Yates, Susan Rice, Andrew McCabe, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, and Bruce Orr. Security clearances for those who still have them may be revoked, and those who have already lost their security clearance may not be able to have it reinstated. It is for the foregoing reasons that I have exercised my constitutional authority to deny Mr. Brennan access to classified information, and I will direct appropriate staff of the National Security Council to make the necessary arrangements with the appropriate agencies to implement this determination.
So that kind of sums it up. I don't think we need to read anything
As the
else
head
there.
of the
So let's go back. That is pretty explosive and unprecedented as far as I'm concerned. I don't recall that ever happening in the past. If it has, I'm completely unaware of it. And you know, since the Q drops first began, Q has kind of alluded to this fact that former, that people retained their security clearance, like people like Clinton and so forth still have their security clearance. Well, why is that? And Q got us questioning this way back because I wasn't aware of that they retained their security clearance, and I don't know if you guys were. Maybe you were, maybe you weren't, but the point is that it's now happening, that this is being addressed. And Brennan's has been revoked, upsetting a lot of people, mind you, on the left. So let's go forward here. And by the way, we've got Sarah Huckabee Carter doing a wonderful, wonderful job there. What did I just say? I just have a feeling that I just said the wrong name. Did I? That's not it. Hang on here. Hang on. I'm having a brain fade, a major, major brain fade. What did I call her? Okay, well, I'm having a brain fade there, and I think I just called Sarah by the wrong name, but let's go on here. You'll forgive me because you know that, you know how I am. Y'all know how I am. Okay. So, I called her, did I call her Carter instead of calling her Sanders? Okay, I think I did, but anyway, you know who I mean. All right. Here's the next post. For now we see only a reflection as if in a mirror. Now this, of course, is taken from the Bible. It is Corinthians 13, verses 4 to 13. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything to stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, and pray in the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all the saints. Ephesians 6:10-18. So here it's talking about putting on the armor of God, which is certainly in the spiritual aspect, but is also very real. And the Bible again and again has told us that we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. When you are fighting against someone, you are not actually fighting against that person. You are fighting against a spirit or a principality. Now, that is, of course, if you belong to the Lord and if you are involved in a spiritual battle, then those who would come against you, they're acting under the authority of spiritual principles and principalities. You're not fighting them in the flesh and blood. So it is a spiritual battle, and it must be fought with spiritual armor and spiritual warfare. And our prayers, of course, are that. The sword, of course, is speaking about the word of God, is the sword of the Lord. And, our feet should be shod with the preparation of the gospel, and that's the gospel of peace. It should be, our feet should have on the shoes of the gospel, and a breastplate of righteousness, helmet of salvation. I don't know if I've missed any there. Anyway, so that is what Q is talking about there, that this is a spiritual battle. I am not sure. I agree in some respects, and in other respects, I do think that there's a danger in going there. That's not really open to discussing at this point, because that's not that is my opinion, and that is not what Q is saying here. And what I am doing here is trying to give you the opinion of Q and not always my opinion, because my opinion could be wrong. But I think I've stated before that I think there is a danger in couching this in spiritual terms, because we are not going to have peace on this earth until Jesus returns in the flesh and is ruling and reigning in person, bodily, for 1,000 years. But that is certainly after the Battle of Armageddon. Now, the book of Revelation is something that I know a great deal about, because I've been studying it since I was literally a teenager. Anyway, let me go on here. Now, this is a long one. So this is Sarah Carter, not to be mistaken with Sarah Huckabee Sanders. The reporter found that Al-Qaeda, and now this is Q making reference to this post by an Anon, where this Anon has referenced Sarah A. Carter. The report found that Al-Qaeda is still a global network showing resilience, and it is stronger than ISIS in places like Somalia, Yemen, and South Asia. UN panel warns of new threat from Al-Qaeda, bin Laden's son. As if we didn't have enough. Now we have bin Laden's son. New Sarah Carter on Somalia and Yemen, relevant to latest Q. Now, let's go out here and take a look. The report found that Al-Qaeda is still a global network showing resilience, and it is stronger than ISIS in places like Somalia, Yemen, and South Asia. This is her post out here on Twitter, and I think that there was another, let's see. Let's go out to the actual article. UN panel warns of new threat from Al-Qaeda, bin Laden's son. A new report from the United Nations outlined the re-emerging threat from Al-Qaeda Wednesday, warning the terror network is poised to make a comeback under the leadership of Osama bin Laden's son. According to Fox News, the group is now led by Hamza bin Laden and is actively recruiting new members to carry out attacks in Europe and North America. The report found that Al-Qaeda is still a global network showing resilience and is stronger than ISIS in places like Somalia, Yemen, and South Asia. Improved leadership and enhanced communication will probably increase the threat over time, as will any rise in the tendency, already visible in some regions, of ISIL supporters to join Al-Qaeda, writes the report. The news comes just days after bin Laden reportedly married the daughter of Mohammed Atta, the lead hijacker behind the September 11th terror attacks. The report found that Al-Qaeda is still a global network showing resilience and is stronger than ISIS in places like Somalia, Yemen, and South Asia, and its leadership in Iran has grown most prominent, writes Fox. So, don't you think that's interesting that that's coming out now? I mean, we haven't heard anything about ISIS for a long time, have we? And why is that? Because, I mean, ISIS was a massive, massive, massive threat under Obama. Well, and of course it would be, wouldn't it? Because Obama was helping it along there. He wasn't trying to get rid of ISIS. The exact opposite was happening. And now, coming up closer to midterms, well, we've got a new threat. We've got a new boogeyman. We've got a new enemy. Oh, it's bin Laden's son. Everybody be scared. Everybody shake. That's right. They always have to have an enemy. Just like the book 1984. Always give the people an enemy, somebody to hate, because then they will throng to their leaders and, want them to keep them safe, right? Isn't that exactly what's happening? It is, as far as I'm concerned. And Q is responding to this and saying, has intel been shared with our enemies in an effort to warn them against capture, kill? Well, in the past, yes, absolutely. Information had been shared with our enemies to keep them safe. Before Donald Trump got into office, that's exactly what was happening. Oh, we don't want to hurt these people. We don't want, they're our wonderful assets. They're our boogeyman. They keep everybody on our side. How long did it take to locate, kill Osama bin Laden? Well, I don't know. How many times has Osama bin Laden been killed? Because I don't know. I mean, he was reportedly killed way back when, And we had people talk about that he had been killed, and then we had the fake raid under Osama bin Laden, of course, and I remember that very clearly. I remember laughing and saying, how stupid do they think we are? Because at that time I was in Baton Rouge, and I remember turning on the news, and here it was late at night, and Osama bin Laden had just been captured and killed, and all of a sudden it just cuts to Washington, D.C., where a so-called spontaneous group erupts. And these are all people that probably were babies when 9/11 happened, and they're university students now, and they're all, probably some of them didn't even know who Osama bin Laden was, considering their ages. And they've all got these posters, and all these professional lights have been all set up to light the crowd and everything. And I'm thinking, well, hasn't this been set up nicely? How long does it take to get all those lights and everything in place? And how long does it take for the news crews to get there? And how long does it take for these people to grab posters and make these posters? And who has poster board at home? Do you? Okay, maybe if you've got kids in, grade school or something, you've got poster board at home. Most people don't. Most people do not have posters and sticks to nail the posters to at home. So this spontaneous crowd that just, sprung up minutes after, where did it come from? Well, I can tell you where it came from. They were paid and they were bussed in, and you could tell it was fake. It was so obvious. They were all dancing around with their little homemade signs that they just made, because they all had poster board and markers and something to nail it to a board at home. And then they ran out at midnight, put their clothes on, and ran out and joined this spontaneous. They knew exactly where to go in Washington. I mean, it wasn't like there was spontaneous things happening anywhere else. No other city reported any spontaneous meetings. Why Washington, and why there? How did they know to meet there if it was spontaneous? Spontaneous being what it is, spontaneous. And I remember thinking, why not in Baton Rouge? Why didn't anybody gather here? Why didn't anybody gather in New Orleans right down the road? Why didn't anybody gather in New York City? Why only D.C.? Why college kids who wouldn't even have any memory of 9/11? Just seemed a whole lot curious to me. But, I'm a little bit jaded that way, because I've seen this stuff time and time again. So anyway, how many times did we locate Osama bin Laden in the past and stand down orders were given? Well, I don't know an actual number, but I know it was more than one time. And people were told to stand down. They had Osama bin Laden in their sights, could have killed him, but were told to stand down. Why did POTUS immediately remove the White House from the chain of command military engagement equation? Probably to cut off these leaks. How has POTUS been able to essentially destroy ISIS within the first year of his presidency, but Hussein could not destroy them throughout entire term? Well, of course we know that. We know why. Because we actually had a president that wanted to destroy them, had the ability, he's got the authority to be able to issue these commands. And he obviously has given his military, he had obviously given his military authority to deal with it, and it was dealt with. But under Obama, he was just playing around. He was saying one thing, doing another. Duplicitous. That is the basis of all evil. You will find with every single evil person, they will have some level of duplicity. Always. Always. Because you think about it, Satan is called the father of who? Lies. Liars. Satan is the father of lies. And God is a God of truth. So if you have somebody being duplicitous and they want you to make them think that they are good, they will present themselves as a minister of righteousness, giving you the truth, all the while lying to you. That's Obama. What is JB's background, John Brenner's background? I think talking about John Brenner here, I would believe. Muslim by faith. Well, as it turns out, he actually is, from what I've been reading, but I would have to look into that a little bit further. But it seems to me when I was looking into this that I did find something, and I should have put the where I found it here, but hopefully I can do that later. Muslim by faith, yes. What is Hussein's background? Muslim by faith, yes. What is Valerie Jarrett's background? Muslim by faith, yes. Absolutely. WikiLeaks. Podesta emails, why was Hussein admin breaking down administration by faith? Now, let's look at this. All right. Here we've got an email from WikiLeaks. And it's from Gail Smith. And it's to John Podesta. Forward, Asian American candidates, comma, Muslim American candidates. List from Prita attached. I took Mansour Ijaz off the list. Way bad idea. Can explain if needed. FYI also. Here are the compiled lists of Asian American and Muslim American candidates for top administration jobs, sub-cabinet jobs, and outside boards, agencies, policy committees. Excuse me. A couple things to note about the list of Muslim American candidates. 1. In the candidates for top jobs, I excluded those with some Arab American background, but who are not Muslim, e.g. George Mitchell. Many Lebanese Americans, for example, are Christian. In the last list of outside boards commissions, most of who are listed appear to be Muslim American, except that a handful, where noted, may be Arab American, but of uncertain religion, especially Christian. There is only one candidate I thought was a viable one for a secretary-level job among the Muslim Americans. That said, on both lists, there are some very senior people listed in the last category for outside boards commissions who conceivably could be considered for top jobs. The very senior people I put on the list tended not to be terribly involved in politics or policy, or in the case of some Asian Americans, had already served in the Clinton and even Carter administrations, and so I thought we should seek new talent. But there's no magic to some of the placements. I think the lists are fairly exhaustive, but some of the people may be moved to other categories. 3. High-profile Muslim Americans tend to be the subject of a fair amount of blogger criticism, and so the individuals on the list would need to be especially carefully vetted. I suspect some of the people I list would not survive such a vet, but I do personally know, at least in part, virtually all of the candidates in the first two categories, but I know very few of those listed for outside boards commissions. I listed the elected Muslim American Democratic officials at the end of the second category, but for various reasons. I didn't think any of them would necessarily be suitable for an administration appointment. Nevertheless, I wanted to flag them for you in case you wanted to evaluate them further. DOJ list will be coming in the next 2 days. Judges and U.S. attorneys will still take about 10 days. Let me know if the latter are needed sooner. Prita D. Bansal, partner, Skadden, Arp, Slate, Meager, and Flum, LLP, 4 Times Square, New York. And that is just the thing about the email attachments is intended only for the use of the addressees, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's go back. So, sure seems that they were trying to get Muslims into the top positions. Why was the Hussein administration breaking down the administration by faith? Well, it seems obvious, right? They wanted Muslims in the top positions that would do their will. Why was the public sheltered regarding ISIS for so long? Well, I think that's pretty obvious. Why was Al-Qaeda deemed the primary adversary versus ISIS? Well, that seems a little obvious as well. ISIS was doing all its damage underground. Well, they put the face on Al-Qaeda. Oh, here's your enemy. Hate this person. Hate this group right here. But meanwhile, ISIS is, eating everything from the inside out. Do you believe U.S. intel did not know Osama bin Laden's son was a prominent figure in Al-Qaeda? Of course. If he is, then the U.S. intel certainly did know. If known, no live intel or geo-tracking to target? That's a good question. Don't you think once they killed Osama bin Laden that if his son was also a target, that they would have targeted him at the same time? I would assume. Define CIA regional assets. Well, it's exactly that. And the CIA, of course, was not meant to operate on U.S. soil. They're meant to be foreign assets, and they're placed in foreign places, and they probably have their areas of expertise and their territories that they're over. I would assume that would make sense, that there would be regional assets, and also the CIA has long used heads of states and so forth as CIA assets. I mean, what's his face? Hussein, the real Hussein. Saddam Hussein was a CIA asset. There was a lot in the 70s and 80s. A lot of the CIA, a lot of the despots of Central and South America were CIA assets. I mean, we know this. This is not anything new or shouldn't surprise anybody. So we certainly have, many believe that Osama bin Laden was a CIA asset, and I happen to think so as well. That's why his family was spirited out of the country on 9/11, didn't want any harm to come to them because they were CIA assets, and I still believe that, and I believe probably 99% probability that Osama's son is also a CIA asset, but who knows. Operation Cyclone. Mujahideen, Afghanistan, aiding anti-Soviet resistance, withdrawal of Soviet troops, control of 800 million, control of weapons, control of training, Afghan Arabs, Haqqani, Hekmatar. I'm not exactly right here sure of what this is discussing right here. Not sure, I'd have to look that up. Osama bin Laden, critical allies, Haqqani plus Hekmatyar relations with CIA in country, dark to light. Now, I missed this going through. I should have looked this up and had a better understanding of this. And that's something that I'm going to have to still do because I'm not exactly sure what Q is talking about here. I know what he's talking about overall, but in order to discuss this particular thing, I wouldn't be able to. So I'm just being honest with you. Now, we're going to go out here. Well, first I'm going to read this. Hang on here. Osama bin Laden allies at the time was the U.S. government, including Jimmy Carter and CIA. We propped him up on back then with weapons and money to A, fight Russians, but real persons, B, aid in Middle East destabilization, C, overthrow a secular Afghan government, D, become a formidable enough force, so blame for 9/11 is believable. He was a puppet, and they only delayed killing him till 2011 to make Barack Hussein Obama re-election in 2012 easier. Now, don't know if he was killed in 2011. I think he was killed prior to then, but I don't know. I think that he was killed more than 2 times, to tell you the truth. I don't know when he died. Any ideas you guys have are welcome. Now, let's see here. Going to go out to here to round out our knowledge a little bit. And we are on the Great Awakening board. And let's close down some of this because my computer's slow for some reason. Okay, where did we want to go here? This person says, exactly. We already heard reports that Hussein gave ISIS 45 minutes notice they would be bombed. Aiding the enemy is military tribunal time. We see high treason in this drop or sedition. It just got real, patriots. I hope there is proof of this and the president has it. Military intelligence would have it all. This 45-minute warning to ISIS was even reported by fake news MSM, and you can bet President Trump has been briefed. Admiral Rogers did a great service to this nation. All people will learn about. We need General Flynn's good name cleared as well. I agree on that. I think he even ordered flyers to be dropped on the ISIS soldiers driving the oil tankers into Turkey after Putin forced Hussein to stop it. Patriot, you are correct. That's what I heard. Mainstream media report. They dropped flyers in advance to let them know a bombing strike was coming. Now we see in the Q drops they gave them intel to avoid being captured by our troops. I suspect some of the operations that went bad may have been because they told the enemy special operations were coming and why the enemy was prepared and we lost troops. That's high treason. Now imagine you are a parent and your son or daughter is over there fighting, and you find out that your son or daughter was killed because someone in the U.S. government gave ISIS advanced knowledge that they were coming, that troops were coming. Advanced notice. How would you feel about that? I don't know, but I think I would lose my mind. I really do. If I knew that a precious son or daughter of mine had died in vain because the enemy was alerted by members of our own government. And for you guys in the military that may have lost, brothers or sisters in the, and I'm talking in the, not in the flesh and blood, but brothers and sisters in the military that have died or that you have seen killed, how would you feel knowing that you were set up? Knowing that the enemy knew in advance that you were coming. It's awful. I don't know how anybody could be that evil. But we're learning more and more that not only were they that evil, they were in fact. I mean, not only are we just discussing it, it did in fact happen. Isn't this what happened in Yemen when our special ops were ambushed by Al-Qaeda, ending with one of our own killed early 2017? Reports said that one of our aircraft had a crash landing, but wasn't because of militants. I believe they were shot down. Another report from one of the soldiers said it was likely they knew we were coming. This makes me question how 20-something Hajs managed to locate, ambush, and eliminate 4 of our Green Berets, and why France and U.S. air support didn't show up until 2 hours later. If that ambush ended up being a deep state op, I want everyone responsible with their heads on a pike in the White House front lawn. Well, I'm not sure I want that, but I do want them justice to be served. On target, Patriot. Keep dropping the whole payload of truth on this objective. Thank you for this great post. This is treason. It's also murder of our kids fighting by Hussein. Patriot, I agree, and this is what was shown to us in these drops. I also always suspected this, but being an army wife and having my husband fight that darn war, to have Q confirm this is devastating. I want to show my husband, but don't have the heart. I truly pray right now that Obama, his entire cabinet, and everyone involved severely pays for what they have done to our country. The innocent civilians of those countries, the soldiers just following orders. My heart is sad. Being a veteran myself, I can really feel your pain because those were my brothers and sisters and their families who gave it all. We were all lied to, and justice cannot come to these treasonous rats fast enough. These globalists and their puppets are the biggest threat to all of humanity. No wonder they had to be secret societies, and I totally hold the fake news MSM accountable for this mess also. I thank all of our troops and their families for their service to our nation, and thank you for your support and sharing this truth, and for your husband's service. Nobody realized how hard having to live each day not knowing the well-being of a loved one at war and having to go with no news is good news until they themselves have gone through this. Thank you, President Trump, and your family, and all those who are exposing these evil ones. Where we go one, we go all. Make America great again. We always tell ourselves it just got real. I'm not getting excited. Obviously, they still have power and influence. And with this treason and seditious being dropped on us to see, it is real now. They are no longer in control and cannot get control back. They can pull false flags, and why we need to keep situational awareness at all times now. So this goes on, and it's very good. There's just so much. Now let me go back here. This just caught my eye. I don't think they even killed Osama bin Laden at that time, and were killed because many of them started speaking out against Obama for him lying, giving no credit, and him spiking the ball, arrogantly bragging. Remember when pathetic Obama had the entire world change Osama's name to Usama? Do you remember how he set up the press announcement on the exact day and time slot as the world premiere of Trump's Apprentice? Also, he was late, like always, to his presser. I agree with that, supposedly dumping him into the ocean, which upsets Muslims, and not providing proof it was him because it will upset Muslims, never passed the smell test for me. I think he died of whatever, and we knew it because we knew where he was, and we just capitalized on the fact that he was dead. Big PR win for the anointed one to come out and say, I got him. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Oh, here, also when they had incoming fire, they asked permission to strike the terrorists and were told no and to stand down. The terrorists ran back to the large group, and they shot the helicopter down. Also, this was fishy, is that it is very uncommon to have all of them on one aircraft. They were set up, and a lot of my fellow battle buddies felt the same way. Now, let's go back here, and I'm going to take you to here. This is interesting. Foggy Bottom grooming gangster John Brennan's been busy tweaking the threat of Al-Qaeda, poised to make a comeback under Osama bin Laden's son, Hamza bin Laden. Wonder why, like seriously, a Muslim naming his son Hamza? You know how they feel about ham. I mean, I'm just saying, Hamza bin Laden. And this is Q1887, Brotherhood, Hussein, and CIA behind comeback, false flag U.S. terrorism attacks. Osama's son will soon find out how different it is when the U.S. has a POTUS that won't hesitate to green light his removal. Unlike the past three administrations who allowed Osama bin Laden to operate for their own political agenda, we now have a POTUS whose only agenda is to put America first. I'm sure Trump will just drone him in one day and it will be over. That's what happens when you let the mighty U.S. armed forces do their job versus try and hold them back while you fund the Muslim Brotherhood. Obama, rather. Someone I know is in Afghan right now. Trump hitting the bad guys hard on the daily, not in the mainstream media. So that's interesting right there. And I wanted to show you that from Reddit's The Great Awakening. They have some awesome things on there and some really good people doing good research. So let's move on. Now, here Q is making reference to this post by an Anon. Gmail drafts have them terrified. Q team, you sent shockwaves to the netherworld. Exclamation mark. And Q responds to this by acknowledgement and says, did they ask Combetta for advice? These people are stupid. And then, you know the meme where Oprah says, Oprah's up there and she goes, you get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car. Well, this is just a take on that meme, and Q is being a little funny, a little bit kind of slap happy, or I don't know what you would call it, but I like it. He says, Oprah show, you get to go to jail, you get to go to jail, and you get to go to jail. You all get to go to jail. Q. This is funny. Like, I don't care who you are, it's funny. So let's go look at this. Computer specialists who deleted Clinton emails may have asked Reddit for tips. In an apparent triumph for collaborative reporting, Reddit discovers what seems to be posts from an IT worker given immunity. Well, well, well. Mr. Combetta. An army of Reddit users believes it has found evidence that former Hillary Clinton computer specialist Paul Combetta solicited free advice regarding Clinton's private email server from users of the popular web forum. A collaborative investigation showed a Reddit user with the username Stone Tier requested help in relation to retaining and purging email messages after 60 days and requested advice on how to remove a very VIP individual's email address from archived content. The requests match neatly with public known dates related to Clinton's use of private email server while Secretary of State. Stone Tier has deleted the post, but before doing so, the pages were archived by other individuals. Archive everything you can, a person wrote on the popular thread on the Donald Trump supporting subreddit, the Donald, as the entries appeared. There are several reasons to believe the Reddit user is indeed Combetta, who was granted immunity by the Justice Department during its investigation of Clinton's private server after he deleted a large number of emails. The evidence connecting Combetta to the account is circumstantial, but also voluminous. The inactive website, combetta.com, is registered to the email address stonetier@gmail.com. A search of domain registration information using the service whois.com indicates an account for a person named Paul Combetta on the web bazaar Etsy also has the username Stone Tier. And perhaps most damningly, there are the dates. On July 24th, 2014, Stone Tier posted to Reddit, "Hello all, I may be facing a very interesting situation where I need to strip out a very VIP email address from a bunch of archived email that I have both in a live exchange mailbox as well as a PST file. Basically, they don't want the VIP's email address exposed to anyone and want to be able to either strip out or replace the email address in the to from fields in all of the emails we want to send out. I'm not sure if something like this is possible with PowerShell or exporting all of the emails to MSG and doing find replaces with a batch processing program of some sort. Does anyone have experience with something like this and or suggestions on how this might be accomplished?" On July 23rd, 2014, the House Select Committee on Benghazi had reached an agreement with the State Department on the production of records, according to an FBI report released earlier this month on the Bureau's probe of Clinton email use. Stone Tier posted to Reddit on December 10th, 2014. "Hello, I have a client who wants to push out a 60-day email retention policy for certain users. However, they also want these users to have a save folder in their Exchange folder list where the users can drop items that they want to hang on to longer than the 60-day window. All email in any other folders in the mailbox should purge anything older than 60 days. Should not apply to calendar or contact items, of course. How could I go about this? Some combination of retention and managed folder policy." The FBI report said that Cheryl Mills, a longtime Clinton aide and attorney, requested in December 2014 that the email retention policy be shortened to 60 days. The FBI report says Mills instructed redacted to modify the email retention policy on Clinton's clintonmail.com email account, but that according to redacted, the name's redacted, he did not make these changes to Clinton's clinton.com email account until March 2015. The report says the person essentially identified as Combetta by the New York Times realized in late March 2015, after Clinton's use of a private email account was first reported that month by the Times, that he had not made the retention change and had an SHIT moment, and sometime between March 25th to 31st, 2015, deleted the Clinton archive mailbox from the Platte River Networks server and used BleachBit to delete the exported .pst files he had created on the server system containing Clinton's emails. An email requesting comments sent to Stone Tier at gmail.com was not immediately returned, nor was a Reddit message sent to Stone Tier, who also posted apparently non-business content to Reddit, including a photo of a small plant growing on a filthy car floor carpet and a comment about an aunt who taught middle school math in Detroit. All right. So last week, Combetta invoked the right not to testify before the House Oversight Committee, which is probing Clinton's email practices. Clinton, who left office in early 2013, provided about 30,000 emails deemed work-related by her legal team to the State Department in December 2014, the same month of the reported Mills retention policy request that led to Combetta's later deletion of emails. So there you go. And this person here says, smoking gun, bleach bit. Paul Combetta asked to strip or replace VIP's email address. Yeah, it doesn't look too good, does it? Nope. So let's go back here. Did they ask Combetta for advice? Well, obviously. Obviously, because we've got him under the name of Stone Tier asking for that very help. These people are stupid. And then, you get to go to jail. 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 You all get to go to jail. Have a nice trip. All right. And here we are. On the next one, we have a lot to go through here, don't we? I mean, I am tempted to even split this one into two, but I think we need to keep pushing through here. So here is the next post, sarahcarter.com, and it's regarding firewall. If we can get out there. Come on. There we go. Maybe. Okay, exclusive. New text reveals Steele, anxious over Comey testimony, hopes firewalls will hold. What firewalls? In March 2017, 2 days before former FBI Director James Comey testified to lawmakers that the Bureau had an open counterintelligence investigation into President Trump's campaign, former British spy Christopher Steele sent an urgent message to Department of Justice official Bruce Orr, hoping that important firewalls will hold when Comey testified. The text message from Steele, who compiled the infamous unverified dossier on Trump, was sent on March 18, 2017 to Orr and obtained by sarahcarter.com from a government source familiar with the ongoing investigation. We're a bit apprehensive given scheduled appearance at Congress on Monday, hoping that important firewalls will hold. What on earth would he mean by that? Orr was demoted twice by the Department of Justice for not disclosing that his wife, Nellie Orr, worked for Fusion GPS, the now embattled research firm, which paid Steele for the documents. Orr has been deposed for questioning by the House Judiciary Committee and is expected to speak to lawmakers behind closed doors on August 28th. All right. In the text, Steele writes, Orr, hi, just wondering if you had any news. Obviously, we're a bit apprehensive given scheduled appearance at Congress on Monday, hoping that important firewalls will hold. Many thanks. Orr writes back later that day saying, sorry, no new news. I believe my earlier information is still accurate. I will let you know immediately if there is any change. It is not certain, based on the limited communications obtained by Congress between the pair, what Orr was referring to when he discussed earlier information that he delivered to Steele. The exchange raises questions, according to a government source who asked, what did Steele mean by important firewalls before Comey testimony? And what did Orr mean by earlier information he provided? The source noted that the firewall statement seemed to raise similar questions posed by lawmakers after now fired FBI Special Agent Peter Strzok sent the infamous insurance policy text to his paramour, former FBI attorney Lisa Page. Strzok, who is lead investigator in the FBI's investigation into Trump, was removed last August from Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation after the DOJ's Inspector General revealed thousands of text messages, including troves of anti-Trump text messages between him and Page. Page, who is working as the general counsel for now fired Deputy Attorney General Andrew McCabe, is no longer with the FBI. Last week, Sarah Carter published a law enforcement sensitive document written by Orr that raised serious concerns among lawmakers regarding his possible contacts with FBI agents involved in the Russia-Trump Bureau investigation. Now, I'm going to go back from here because we're going to find out that the firewall that they're talking about is Rosenstein. He is the guy that has been doing his best to block information from getting out before and after this special investigation. He's losing his ability to firewall the truth from Congress. He has been stonewalling to cover his ass as well as everyone else's. Or can break up Rosenstein, Sergeant Schultz Act. The Mueller investigation is not the only witch hunt, it is the cover-up. So let's go up here, and down here, this is taken from Great Awakening Board. It says, from the context, my interpretation, Steele was telling Orr that he hoped Comey kept the story straight. When creating an elaborate lie among multiple people, it becomes very difficult for all parties to keep the lie straight. This is why investigators immediately separate co-suspects. It's also why Feinstein released the Simpson testimony on her own, despite not having her committee's permission. She wanted to get Simpson's testimony out in the public so the actors wouldn't blow the story. The firewall was the cover story. Note, Simpson's testimony has been absolutely destroyed in the past week. So I'm not sure. I would tend to believe that the firewall was Rosenstein, but that's my interpretation. And up here, we've got this, that Q is referring to his previous post on Sarah Carter and the firewall. And then he also makes reference to his post from January 29th. Narrative shift. Nation on alert. Firing Rod Rosenstein equals block Mueller. Firing Rod Rosenstein equals setup to firing Mueller. Firing Rod Rosenstein equals red line. What was the Senate confirmation vote regarding Rod Rosenstein? And it was, I don't know, it was, I think, it almost unanimous. I think there was just 2 people that voted against it, 2 or 3 people that voted against it. What did Rod Rosenstein beg Ryan to block, or why, rather, did Rod Rosenstein beg Ryan to block the FISA memo from Congressional Review further advancement? Real-time congressional members plus 3 senators plus 2 former Obama senator officials plus 4 outside contractors. No C top-level sensitive clearance. SCIF, DC cap. Top security clearance is mandatory for admission. How is that possible? We see you. Now this is really old. We've come a long way since that. And then we've got the post of the American flag. And here we've got another Q post from January 29th saying James Comey tweet translation special Agent Andrew McCabe stood tall over the last 8 months. Do not talk. When small people, sheep, were trying to tear down an institution we all depend on, cover. He served with distinction for 2 decades. We own you and your family. I wish Andy well. 187, which of course is murder. I also wish continued strength for the rest of the FBI. General threat to others. America needs you. Activate sleeper cells. And I always got a kick out of this because this was a tweet, an actual tweet by James Comey, but it was translated, so to speak, by Q. And, when he said Andrew McCabe has stood tall over the last 8 months, what he's really saying is do not talk when small people, when the sheep, so we remember all this, I am sure. And then it says Apache Q. And it says logical thinking Q. So I'm not sure about all of this. why he's bringing all this up. I think it is obviously in reference to the firewall, and I think that Rod Rosenstein, of course, is the firewall because firing him and getting rid of him would not be good. It wouldn't. It would set in motion things that are against the plan, how they're going about this. I'm not sure I'm communicating this properly because I'm getting tired of talking at this point, but I think you know what I mean. Rod Rosenstein is the firewall because if you fire him, you block Mueller. It's a setup to firing Mueller, and it would be like a red line. So, yeah. Now let's go up here, and this is text, emails, Gmail, drafts, Gmail, ham communications, and that's ham radio communications, PS/Xbox chat box, James Comey, Barack Obama, Chuck Schumer. Number 2 here is Andrew McCabe. NO is Nellie Orr, and SY is Sally Yates. So the text, emails, Gmail, drafts, Gmail, ham communications. Now Nellie Orr does know how to operate ham radio, so I would say that he's saying we have it all. And then he's mentioning this, which is very interesting, PS/Xbox chat logs. Now, what he's saying is, we got all this. Bonus round. Q. Ooh, these people need to sit up, take notice. James Comey, Barack Obama, Chuck Schumer, Andrew McCabe, Nellie Orr, Sally Yates. They've got it all, including their chat logs on the PS Xbox. Oh, well, isn't that interesting? I think it is. I think it's quite interesting indeed. Now, I'm going to see how much we have left of 15 of, because this seems to have gotten very, very long. So if it's just going to be another, we've still got a ways to go. All right. Yeah. I'm going to cut it off here. My next video will be the last part of August 15th and the first part of August 16th. Okay, I think it's just getting too long at this point, and I don't want to overwhelm anyone or underwhelm anyone, as the case may be. So I'm going to cut it off here. I am going to pick up. It's only 6:11 p.m. Eastern time, and I still have a lot of time left to do videos tonight, and I intend on doing that. So we're going to stop right here, and we're going to pick up from where we left off in the very next video. Now, please make sure if you want to be subscribed that you stay subscribed. They are messing with my numbers right now, so if you do want to be subscribed, make sure that you stay subscribed because you get dropped every now and then, and hit the bell if you want to be notified. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you all, and I will talk to you soon. Have a good night and stay safe.